We started this episode with the good luck charm, Richard Mill, and this was in Richard Mill Boutique, 222 North Rodeo Drive. Wait, when did Rodeo drop? I swear the anniversary is coming up very soon. 4th of September. 4th of September, that's on Thursday. Bro, it is going to be 4 years. It's going to be 10 years since Rodeo dropped. Damn, that's how we're starting the episode. We're just going to talk about it real quick because it's crazy because on this card, okay, so it says 222 North Rodeo Drive, Beverly Hills, California, 90210. You can't make this up. Like, look at this. In a 90210, 90210, looking for Daddy. That's crazy. Rodeo was really set in LA. It's also going to be the Birds anniversary, which I believe came out on the... Anyway, we're talking about Rodeo real quick. Rodeo is really Travis's breakthrough album. There's a reason why he's on the wave he is right now. It changed the way of psychedelic rap, and it's a classic album, whether you hate it or not. My first song from that album that I heard off Rodeo was Antidote, and I think that may have been a lot of people's first introduction. It wasn't my first song that I heard from him. Mine was... What song was it? The first Travis song that I heard was Upper Echelon. Shout out to GTA. But anyway, 4th of September, that was a drop date, and it was really a different album in terms of the sound and the way that it was just marketed, and with the way that it was marketed, the rollout and the press and the whole vibe of the album is just dark, psychedelic, twisted, different, and just on its own path. It's an album that is literally like red wine. It has an acquired taste. Not everyone would get it at the time that it dropped, and it had time for it to build in terms of anticipation or the way people would view the album. And it's crazy how things changed now. You know, you have songs like Mariah I'm Drunk with Justin Bieber and Thug. One of Justin Bieber's best verses he's ever done. You have songs like Pornography, amazing song, especially the second part. All My Decide, the second part is my favorite. Impossible, which is my favorite song on the album. One of my favorite Travis songs ever. Apple Pie, if you know that leak, if you know the underrated song, then you know the underrated song. But you also have so many good songs on there. Wasted, 3500 is valid. I wasn't really a fan of it, but it grew over time. Pray for Love, which is underrated, and it's also during a time when The Weeknd dropped his album Beauty Behind the Madness, and it's also the 10-year anniversary. So during that short space of time with The Weeknd's breakthrough album and as well as Rodeo, it's actually crazy with the cosigns that were on this album. I was never a fan of Flying High, and I wasn't really a fan of OK Alright. I like the second part of OK Alright though, but that's about it. An underrated banger on Rodeo is Never Catch Me. Not a lot of people talk about that one because it is fire. It is actually an amazing song. As well as Piss on Your Grave. I wasn't really keen on that one, but I can appreciate it. There's another song that I'm missing, aren't I? Oh my gosh, 90210. 90210 and I Can Tell. Yeah. See, 90210, I Can Tell. It took time for me to actually like it, I'll be honest with you. It took time for me to like 90210, but I understand it now. I still prefer the first part over the second, but the second part is still really good. I just wish I could listen to Impossible for the first time again, because that song right there is... It's incredible, and because it's autumn period, well, it's about to be autumn period, it just does not get better than that. The way the song is set, it just makes sense to play that during this period, and you really have to. But yeah, Rodeo is a classic album, and the way that he did the action figures, they don't make albums like that no more, man. The rollouts that he did for that when he was doing his shows in New York during the period, of course, bro, I was 12. Yeah, I was 12 when the album dropped. I had no clue what was going on. Wait, was I 12? Yeah, I was 12. I had no clue what was going on in this world. But yeah, that's crazy. I was 12 when Rodeo dropped. You know what's crazy? That Travis Scott was 22 when he was making Rodeo. I'm 22 right now. And it makes you think, damn, what on earth are we doing wrong? Like, I'll be thinking, what am I doing wrong? But we're on our own journey, so you cannot do that comparison shit. But actually, you just have to think about that sometimes. Like, these artists were in their like early 20s, but some were in their late 20s. So, you know, that's when that conversation comes to an end, that everyone's on their own timeline. I'm really going to listen to the album after. Nights like this, I wish I could do the impossible. Welcome to episode 35 of the Perspective Podcast. This is where we talk about music and just a whole lot of everything. If you're new to the podcast, make sure you like, follow, subscribe, and just stay tuned for the episodes because we're going to continue with the momentum and we're not stopping. We've been doing this for 35 weeks straight, all the way through winter, summer, spring, and now we're going back into autumn, and now we're going to the autumn season. So we've been doing this for all seasons of the year, and I'm very grateful to actually just continue with that. I know I got the dates of the seasons wrong, but it does not matter. A little verse of the day. I'm reading Deuteronomy. I think that's what it's called, Deuteronomy, and it's also talking about like the commandments and just the way life is set, the way you should view life. When you look at the sun, when you look at the moon, when you look at the stars, don't worship the stars because that is not who you should be worshiping. You should be worshiping your Lord because he's the one who created everything. Basically saying that do not idolize these things, especially people. I believe I can idolize people and things to an extent, especially for someone who loves talking about music. It can get to a point where it can turn into idolizing, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it gets to a point where we're all just humans, you know, we're all flawed humans, and the only person you shall serve is a man you serve, or just, you know, nobody, or your family, your mom or your father, or just that father figure or that person in your life. You know, it makes me realize that you shouldn't really be idolizing or putting that idolatry onto things like that. It's okay to do that because it really makes you realize, okay, this is the way that I want to move. But you should have that balance that we're all flawed humans, no one's perfect, because at the end of the day, we're all going to make mistakes. And as long as you have that mentality that as long as you're doing the best that you can and taking every person with a pinch of salt and using it to your own standard, that's the best way possible. Even your family, even the closest people next to you, because we all have mistakes and we can't all be like them, and that's not our objective. We're here to be set apart and to be our own character. So I'll continue to motivate you to be on that wavelength. You are on your own wavelength. Don't listen or don't look too much on what people are doing. Focus on your own graft and keep working your way up, because that's the whole point of life. Life is going to be unfair and it's always going to come with its ups and downs. But during them struggles, that's where you find the gratitude or the contentment or the blessings in life to make you the way that you are now. I'm Christian, so I'm always reading the Bible, and I'm also reading books frequently. And I'd always recommend you guys to read books because it really does make an impact. I'm reading a book called Untethered Soul, and I'm also reading, let me get the book actually, give me a second. I'm reading this book called Untethered Souls, and it is a banger. It literally talks about your inner self and just the way to cope through life and not to be too, how can I explain it? It makes you realize that we are just small little figures on a spinning globe, and it makes you realize that nothing matters. Not even us, not even our thoughts matters, because our thoughts are just going to be passing in and out, and it's how we take it in and how we go about our life. And it really is from our environment, our past traumas that we've been through, that makes us the way we are. And it comes with that intention of changing the shift and the way that we move, not just because of our environment, but the way that we want to live our life in the future. Because sometimes we just live life on autopilot and we don't realize that, and I don't realize that too. And sometimes we've got to stop being a victim and just actually take accountability. And that's also me speaking to myself on that one, because, you know, you can be a victim and talk about how things are just not the way they want it to be, or how there's quite a few inconveniences that are in your life. But, bro, shift the mindset and realize that you'll always strive and prosper, and it will work in your favor. Because if you were not meant to go through this, you wouldn't have been with these situations. So just don't forget that. I'm also reading Green Lights by Matthew McConaughey. However you say that surname, I think that's how you say it. But yeah, shout out to him though. My boy shouted me on this book, so we are gonna tap in after we finish Untethered Souls. But yeah, guys, tap into your books, bro, because it goes a long way. It's a way to grow your intellect and the way that you view life, because sometimes looking at your phone, scrolling, doom scrolling, it don't do much, bro. Honestly, it does not help. It really doesn't. It only just messes up with your mind. I was listening to a podcast, right? And he was saying how we consume more than, I think it's either 3K or 30K, because we just consume so much on our, either on our phones or just whatever we're doing. 30K words a day is insane. I don't think our brains are supposed to process that many, but we adapt to this, I guess. Let's get into the music topic, because that was a deep intro. I'm moving like Modern Wisdom or moving like Diary of a CEO with this game. I've been tapping into some new music. I tapped into Stone Roses the other day. I can't lie to you, I'm not really a fan of their music like that. I realized that they are good with their production. They have good beats. I really like their beats, especially the song I Wanna Be Adored. I like that one. And there's a one with like My Spun Sister, something like that. Those two there are actually really good. But the other songs on the album are just, I don't know, it just didn't really stick to me like that, especially the song Don't Stop. I realized that it was reverse from their previous song on the album, but I'm just really, I wasn't really feeling it that much. And it makes me realize that all these bands, they all have their different sound. There's the similarities because a lot of these bands were from the same era, so it makes sense, especially bands like Oasis, Stone Roses, The Smiths, and then after that, Arctic Monkeys being later, and then obviously previously as well, the Beatles. Like all of them were in one era, and I still think that's crazy to me, how all of that just happened during one era. Of course, there's a couple year gaps, but still. And I know Arctic Monkeys is like later, but they dropped their first project like early 2000s, and Oasis were still dropping. Of course, the Smiths and Stone Roses, they didn't, but yeah. And it's mental how with Stone Roses that they only had, well, their main album is their first one, and then after that it just like low-key went downhill, but they're still fire though. Now, I can't like everything, you know, I've got my music and then we're expanding slowly bit by bit, but it gets to a point where, you know, it's a bit too much for me anyway. I like my calm, my chill, my euphoric music, not too much of this, like, not too much of that noise, you know what I mean? Like, that is not me. A little bit of Oasis, I'm cool with that. A little bit of, who else was I tapping into? A little bit of Radiohead, tapping into that, you know, a little bit of that. But just their calm ones is the ones that I vibe with the best. During that period of them dropping their music, for example, Oasis, I'm listening to their audiobook. For their first album, they sold 3 million copies worldwide. 1994, Oasis dropped their album, their debut album, right? And it sells 3 million worldwide. Of course, that's not first week, but that's still crazy numbers to even say that in 1995. This is like before streaming, and all this stuff was even a thing. So people were getting the vinyls, CDs, cassettes. Like they were getting all these physical copies for the albums because that was the only thing that you can do. That was the only thing the only way that you could get your music to be playing is to literally get physical copies. And it's mental how like 3 million copies were sold worldwide. That's crazy to me, and I wish that I was alive to an extent during that period. Like I wish I was able to experience that. I mean, you still can like go get physical copies, but it's never going to be the same because we really have the convenience of our phones and being able to just download it on iTunes or to literally just like download it on Spotify or Apple Music. Like we have the convenience of that. And yeah, I know we buy vinyls, but we're not as consistent with buying vinyls every album that drops. And it just makes me realize that era is, I'm actually going to appreciate that era even though we was not there, because being able to just buy physical copies it shows that you've got people that are genuinely in touch and appreciate your music, because they're going out their way, spending their money to go and get the physical copy. I know we kind of do that because we pay subscriptions for our streaming services, but that doesn't go anywhere. It literally just goes to the streaming service. If you use Spotify, it goes back to Spotify, or it goes to Apple, you know, things like that. And even with streaming services, when you listen to their music on streaming, they barely get as much money from the music that you stream from. I think the most streaming platform that gives people the most money. I think it's either Tidal. Spotify does literally basically gives shillings, bro. They give nothing. They literally give nothing. Even if it's like a 1 billion song, obviously it's gonna be something, but it's not gonna be as what it should be. And it's a cruel world we live in, man. Like, yeah, it's tough. So yeah, physical copies was always going to be the best way to go, and it's motivated me to actually get more physical copies. But even that is an expensive habit. Look at the amount of vinyls I've got. I've only got 9. I don't have a lot, and I don't want to have a lot because I'd rather be spending my money on different things. But it's crazy to say that because you're gonna say that and then you're just gonna spend the money on something else. But physical copies is always going to be the best way. Young Thug has been having some stinkers lately. He's been having a lot of phone calls leaked, and this is the feds' work, bro, because they're putting overtime into their work. I don't know how they're getting these like phone calls leaked, but they're doing overtime. Basically, a lot of stuff has been going on in conversations between Gunna and, well, about Gunna. Young Thug was basically talking to 21 about the whole situation and about the whole album drops, and talking about his song Bread and Butter that Gunna dropped when he came out of prison after the whole, that whole situation. And obviously during that song, Gunna was talking about how he had to cut ties with everyone, and the way they had to move is different. And Young Thug was basically like just slandering Gunna during the whole cool. And then 21 was basically backing Gunna, saying he's not lying about the whole situation. And it makes me realize that 21 Savage is one of the few rappers, well, obviously we don't know them, so taking it with a pinch of salt, but 21, from what we've seen, is one of them artists that he's always going to be honest, and he's never going to be a yes man on the things that he's saying. And that's the people that you need in this world, because you're always good, especially if you're high up in the industry. Like, if you're well known, it's gonna be easier for you to be around yes men, because you got there for a reason. People don't want to lose that connection and that relationship because of how big you are. And 21 does not care, even though he's still big, but he does not care. In this music rap industry, it's a bit rare to have artists that are gonna be speaking facts, because everything is fabricated, especially rap. It's getting worse and worse as years go on. But yeah, Thug, it's not looking good for him, because a lot of stuff are just leaking between him and him, basically saying that Lil Baby's like his best friend. He's literally just like backing him over everything, which fair enough, like, you know what I mean? But it's just tough. It's very tough. And also, what he also did, remember the period when Gunna and The Weeknd released the album at the same time? Thug literally baited out that he paid 50k so that Gunna could get more fake streams, which would outsell The Weeknd's album Dawn FM, which makes sense because, bro, if you were in tune during that period, DS3 and Dawn FM were neck and neck in terms of units. Just about Gunna outsell The Weeknd. And I remember that whole period, Gunna literally made it like it was the biggest achievement, which it is, because it's The Weeknd we're talking about. Weeknd releasing this different album to what is ever dropped. Of course, the units were not gonna be the same as an After Hours or a Starboy. So yeah, this was actually crazy, and it makes you realize that the game is actually very strategically played. The way the music industry is, bro, it's a bit dark. People really be buying fake streams. People really be doing all these things behind closed doors, and it makes you realize Drake has literally been saying this for a while, and it makes me look at the game sideways when artists get big units or when they get up in the charts, because, bro, the marketing, the labels, all these people, they be paying extra just so that things go up, and it takes away the authenticity of a song. And it's mad because I thought Young Thug and The Weeknd were boys, so for that to happen, and obviously for him to bait that out, it's a bit tough. Have they made a song together? I mean, the only song that Young Thug and The Weeknd have been on was for Reminder, which is a remix. It's not the actual song. I've actually never heard that, I've never heard the remix of Reminder with Young Thug and A$AP Rocky. May have to tap into that. But bro, Reminder is such a good song. I remember the whole second verse, bar for bar. That was like one of my favorite Weeknd songs during the Starboy era. Man, The Weeknd's catalog is so clear, bro. I actually love The Weeknd's discography, and it's mad how people really did not like Starboy that much during the period. Like, Starboy is such a good album. I may have to get the vinyl for that too. Bro, I love The Weeknd's music, man. Damn. Shout out to him, bro. But yeah, honestly, songs, an underrated song of Starboy, yeah. Secrets is an underrated song. True Colors is an underrated song. If you listen to it closely, you can hear Travis's ad-libs in the background. He's got additional vocals on True Colors. 6 Feet Under is valid. All I Know is a very underrated song on Starboy. I think that's better than 6 Feet Under. You have another one on the album that's underrated, but I'm not sure. Oh my gosh, Sidewalks. That is also one of Kendrick's best verses he's ever done. But yeah, Starboy is such a top 10 album. And yeah, shout out to The Weeknd. I don't know how that got into that, but yeah. Oh, because of Young Thug. But yeah, the way Young Thug is moving, it's not looking good, man. Gunna on the other half, he's having a W run. Literally, he did a 5K run in New York. And after that, he did a gym session with the people that he invited his fans. He basically made it public for anyone who wants to come and just do a 5K run and also just a gym session. And it's mental to see the growth and the way that he's just changed his overall lifestyle from overdosing on the whippets. You know, he was going crazy on the balloons, man. Like, it's mad how things changed. And I remember that period during 2020. That was during Wunna, like his album Wunna. And yeah, he was a chubby fat man, bro. Everyone would literally violate his weight. So him going to prison was literally needed, because look at him now, the way that he's going on with his, I don't even know how to say it, but just the way that he's moving, it's sick and it's nice to see. And he should definitely keep it up, because yeah, man, you get more respect for that. And all of artists do campaigns like this, like the runs and the gym stuff. It's like he's moving like a Gymshark or Represent, and he could actually do a collab with them. I know he's collabed with Represent, but he could literally continue with that run and the wave that has gone with that, because it's sick. When I was at Wireless, I was there for all 3 days. The second day was the rap day, you know, Mandem, let's get hyped. I was ready for that. He brought out Yeet, and then the second artist he brought out was an artist that I've never seen before. And I was thinking, what is going on? It just sounded like a noise. His stage presence, it was not there. There was a lot of delay with his mic and the way that he was performing, and it just looked rushed. It didn't really look that, it just wasn't that good. Unless you knew the artist, no one was like singing along to the music. And that artist was Fake Mink. I've never heard him before until that Wireless set. Can't lie to you. And to have that co-sign from Drake, a couple of days ago, he does his headline show in London. One thing I'll say, that stage set that he had with the boxing ring, that is very smart. That is actually very smart, and I respect it. And I guarantee you, more artists, well, it's going to be replicated in the future, because that is actually very smart. And the lights were literally on the stage of the boxing ring, and it looked sick. And during that show, he would have thunk it that Timothy stepped in like that. And then after that, Frank Ocean, of all people, is crazy. Apparently, he's been dropping music since 1930s, bro. I don't know how he did this. Obviously, you could change the date. He's been dropping music since 1938. That's his debut single, 1938. If you just keep looking at his catalog, he's been dropping singles, like, fair enough, probably every week, because he has so many singles. And I was thinking, okay, with all of this co-signing that's happening, you deserve it, because he's been putting nothing but that graft in, and you only have nothing but respect for that, because it takes time, effort, it takes a lot of energy. It can be draining, but you're still putting the music out every week. But yeah, the co-signs have been going crazy, and I don't want to be that type of person that would say he's an industry plant. I don't want to be that type of guy. So I hope that his music sounds good. You know, I've got faith in the guy, because if you're having a co-sign by Frank Ocean, then surely there must be something that you have that is set apart and that is good, because Frank Ocean, he does not even release music no more, and he's co-signing Fake Mink. So yeah, if I was to ever see that, me being co-signed by Frank Ocean, bro, I'm turning things up, because that does not happen as often. So yeah, shout out to Fake Mink, man. He deserves it all. He just has to keep going and showing his people that he is him and not an industry plant. Having the stigma of being called an industry plant, it can be either the best or the worst thing for your career. It's always gone left for artists that are called an industry plant. For example, there's two 24 Golden when he made that song Rude. And there's an artist, well, who's another one? Ian, everyone is saying that he was an industry plant. To be fair, he's still doing well so far. But that double XL rap that he did, horror. Everyone was saying Doechii was an industry plant. And to be fair, I disagree. I don't think she's an industry plant because she's actually good at rapping. It's just the way the industry is to an extent. You know, there's a lot of people that are within the industry that know people that will put more people onto people, especially if you go to these events. You see that everyone knows everyone, so it's crazy how things work. But yeah, I hope Fake Mink is not an industry plant, otherwise it will not be good. Who's actually an industry plant? There was a moment where everyone was saying Jack Harlow was an industry plant. I don't think he is. I think he's actually a valid artist. There's a main one that was an industry plant. I was gonna say Tommy Rich. Is it Tommy Richman? He only had one song in his locker, 1 or 2 songs in his locker, and then wrapped it up. With the name being an industry plant, I feel like people just find it a way to hate on people because they're known by all of these people and they've put their effort and time into making themselves who they are as artists that they want to be, or just whoever. And then to be called an industry plant is like, it hits your ego because you put all this time, you put all the work. For you to just be called that is like, damn, it's tough, but the game's the game. Whatever you want to do in life, you can't do anything on your own. You really need a team. You need people to grow and to evolve. You can't do any of this on your own because life comes at you fast, and the people that you're going to spend your time with, they have to be the same people that will be honest, like 21, the people that will literally help you to grow. And if you don't have people like that, then you may need to have a sit and think, okay, who should actually be in my life, or who do I want to be with, or who do I want to spend my time with? Because those moments are precious, and those moments are only going to go away if they're not used as effectively. I'll be honest, sometimes I can have moments when I'm alone or where I don't really have a team, but then you realize that your friends are more than enough, and that's a problem of mine. I forget that I've actually got my guys and I've got my friends, and while creating content, I find it difficult to have creative friends because I'm just always like either on my own or, you know, it's just not always as out there. You need people to realize, okay, this is what you should be doing. You should not be doing this, or even just to for people to encourage you. All you need is that simple word to boost up your day and just to make you feel better. You can literally work with anyone, and it's about the people skills. I was listening to a podcast yesterday and it was talking about it really is important to have people skills, because if you don't, then it's a tough world. Having people skills really do decrease the chances of you wanting to quit a job. It really just does increase your chances of you being respected more, and just the way that you're viewed upon. Always strive to be that guy who's the best version of themselves no matter what period. I'm currently tired right now, bro. I'm under 5 hours of sleep. 5 hours because yesterday I took Mumsy to a Villa game. It was not supposed to happen. Yesterday morning was thinking, okay, we're gonna go to box office to just see if they have tickets for cheap. Villa Park is a 90-minute drive from my house, so I'm asking around, where can I go get tickets? First guy says, keep going straight, turn right. They say a complete different way. I'm thinking, okay. We get there now, I'm speaking to the guy. I'd like to get 2 tickets. And he's asking me questions. Do you have a fan club membership? Thinking, nope. I end up putting my details in and we're in. He finds me a ticket in Trinity Point, but I'm like, bro, you can find better tickets. Broski only does find me better tickets in Doug Elliston. Shout out to him. He's the GOAT. He puts me on. He gets me the tickets. £53. I'm gassed. I'm thinking, yeah. Looking bad now. Horror. Anyway, we get the tickets. I surprised Mum with them. She didn't know. Surprise your mum with these things because it makes her day. You know, my mum has not been to a Villa game in over a decade. She used to work at Villa as a chef, so it's nice to, you know, the fruition that she did working there so that we can have food on the table is the fruition that I gave so that she can go to a game. So it's a full circle moment, and very grateful to take her to a game. That was the best part, giving her the ticket, seeing her smiling when the game is about to start. Those were like peak moments in life. And then after that, it just went downhill. Matty Cash was not performing well. Even Morgan Rogers was not performing well. After he just got his award, you know, after he just got his award, so he's on this major high and he's on this momentum run. But no, he doesn't keep the standard high. Watkins, he's playing sloppy. Mings and Konza, they're actually playing decent, but their defense is just sloppy at times, to the point that the whole Crystal Palace team is walking over us fully. I forgot the guy's name, but his debut match, he was slipping and sliding everywhere, and man, I feel bad for the guy. It's your first game. Broski got subbed off second half. McGinn, he was actually playing valid. The team was just off. It was very, you could just tell that they had nothing going on in front of them. Like, they just wanted the game to be over from the second the match started, and it foreshadowed to the 3-0 loss in the end, because we did not care. Second half, first 10 minutes, we were up, but other than that, it was not it. And man, we need to pattern up. Apparently now we have Jordan Sancho. That is going to be another Rashford. It's going to be a part 2. I'm here for that. It better be W performance, because we need that. We need that. We're going to keep going with the ball content because we are there. Obviously, Liverpool have Isaac. Shout out to them. Liverpool may have a W season again with the way they are cooking. Villa need to pull their weights up. Man U have Martinez now. My broski's gone. It's tough. We need a new goalie. We just need a whole change overall. New music that I've been tapping into before we end the podcast. I'll be listening to Zach Bryan, and I've also been listening to Sabrina Carpenter. I listened to her album, Her Man's Best Friend. There's a couple valid songs on that album. It's actually listenable. And then Zach Bryan, he's actually really valid. I never really listened to his music, but his self-titled album, fire. There's bangers on that song, and it's an album that you can just put in the background while you're just chilling, and I appreciate it a lot. I was like, yo, country music is valid. It really is just chill, and you need that. They love talking about their whiskeys and they love talking about that stuff, but it's just the way country music is. You know, every music genre has their similar things that they're going to be talking about, and Zach Bryan is fire, and we are going to be tapping into him more, because who would have thunk it? Who would have actually thunk it? With perspective, we have things coming up in the future, and I can't wait. I hope you guys enjoy these episodes, and I hope you are actually appreciating it. Every week, we are working to be a better community, to be a better team, because that's what it's all about. I love this podcast. I love this legacy that we're growing, and we are going to keep growing and learning and just doing different things that we can do better, and to bring everyone as a group together, because it's never just about me. You know, I'm willing to put hours into editing these podcasts because it's a true passion and I love doing this stuff. So yeah, every week it's a new podcast. Every week we're out here. We literally go to Zimbabwe in like 3 weeks, and it is not going to be easy to do that, because how we're going to do the podcast, but we will find a way and we'll figure it out. And yeah, that's episode 35 of the Perspective podcast. This has actually flown by, so I'm actually happy with this episode, and I hope you've enjoyed it. Make sure you keep being the best version of yourself. It's September. Lock in. Got 3 months left and then the year's done. Crazy. Still stay being the best version of yourself. Work harder, but also have that love to give back to others, and just keep striving, man. You are him. Don't forget that. And yeah, I'll see you guys on episode 36.